So let's talk about coping mechanisms. So often in life, we pick up something to use it as a coping mechanism to be able to help us get through, right? For some people, it is eating. For some people, it's drinking alcohol. For some people, it's, running. Or some form of like rigorous exercise. For some people, it is storming around and swearing and punching walls. Uh, I'm not saying these are all good coping mechanisms, right? For some people, it is, of course, smoking. And the person, so you feel frustrated, you're really aggravated, things aren't going the way that you want to, or you just want a minute to yourself, or, right, there's a million different ways that then, okay, I just need to go outside and have a cigarette. And once you have that cigarette, you're able to calm down, not because the cigarette is calming you down, because we talked about this already in the stress video, but because you're actually taking a moment to yourself, right? You're stepping away from whatever that current situation is. So, as a non smoker, right, smoking obviously is not a part of that coping mechanism. And it's time to start thinking about what are your coping mechanisms going to be when you're no longer smoking, and how can you practice those coping mechanisms, whatever they are. So it's identifying what do you need in the moment, right? When you're using smoking as your coping mechanism, start paying attention to what is it that you need in that moment. Is it that you need to step out and just step away so that you're out of the situation? Is it that you need to do the breathing so that you're able to let go of the stress? Is it that you need to talk to somebody that, has the ear to be able to listen to you and is willing to, let you vent for a minute? What is it that you actually need in that moment when you are dealing with whatever situation it is and that you're just kind of coping with it? One of the ways to be able to determine that what it is, if you're not sure, is every time that you have a cigarette, right? Sit down with it, walk around with a little notepad and paper. Every time you have a cigarette, start writing down, right? Why are you having that cigarette? What's going on? What do you need in that moment? Right? What do you need in that moment that you're smoking that cigarette? Is it that you need a little bit of peace and quiet? Is it that you need to just do the breathing? Is it that you need to be outside in nature? Is it that you need somebody to talk to? Whatever that is, once you identify like which category it goes into, you could almost, take a sheet of paper and mark off the columns and then put the little categories at the top to be able to say, okay, right, what is it? Then you can start saying, okay, what am I going to do instead so that now I have a plan when all of a sudden I'm feeling like I've been triggered, because that's really what happens when there's a coping mechanism is you've been triggered. And now, because you've been triggered, your response always was to then go light up the cigarette. Now we want to say, okay, here's the trigger. What are we going to do instead? So get curious when you notice the trigger. First place to start it is the minute that you're saying, I want a cigarette, what's going on, right? Is there a trigger? What is that trigger? So be able to then get to the root of why is it that you're looking for that cigarette, and then being able to put into place, okay, I'm going to do something different. This is Rebecca with Mind Over Matter Hypnosis. I hope you're finding these tips helpful, and I hope you have a great day.